SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Running a business is tough. If you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. Many businesses just don't have the resources to keep up. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. We provide a full range of employer services with everything from payroll to benefits to HR services and compliance, and can create a custom plan that fits your needs and budget. We're a Mississippi-based company that can help you focus on what you do best, growing your business. Call MWG Employer Services today at 601-206-7966 or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. You're listening to Sports Talk Mississippi On Demand, presented by Pearl River Resort. Escape to Choctaw, Mississippi and enjoy world-class gaming, the Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, and Geyser Falls Water Park. Escape to Pearl River Resort.
Sports Talk Mississippi is on the air. Sports Talk Mississippi is powered by C-Spire. Power your home or business with C-Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C-Spire. C-Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. To the junction, in the Grove, and to the top. This is Sports Talk Mississippi. On your radio and in the game. Right here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome in on this Thursday, Sports Talk Mississippi, and training camp is officially underway everywhere in the state of Mississippi. Obviously, as we told you on Tuesday while we were there, Southern Miss got started first. Mississippi State on the practice field today because we got to see video of that taking place. Ole Miss on the practice field today. How do we know? Because there's video. You get to actually watch periods of practice that the teams actually let the media see, which is basically nothing. But you still got to see players on the practice field. Training camp is here, and we are so glad that you are here as well. I'm Michael Borky alongside Will East for a little while. Thank you for making our show a part of your day. We're in the Pearl River Resort studio, and if you want to text the show, you can on the C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. C-Spire encourages you to be a part of the show, but do it safely. Please don't text and drive, especially at least in our neck of the woods. It's a little bit rainy today and storms and all that stuff. So be a part of our show, but be safe today. Want to remind you, speaking of Pearl River Resort, coming up on Tuesday, leg number 2 of the Not Fall Camp Tour. And I know this is the Starkville stop. Whoever's running the Ole Miss football Twitter account, you blew it. You blew it. It's not fall camp. It's training camp. You blew it. Everybody else is on board. Southern Miss is on board. Mississippi State's on board. Come on, admin. You got to get with it. But we will be in Starkville on Tuesday at the Landing, and I believe we're going up high. It's a rooftop bar, so you got to come up and see us. Don't just come and see us, but literally go upstairs, and we will be up top. Hey, Dad, and myself, a lot of great guests, giveaways, and more with you as part of the Not Fall Camp Tour, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. So I want to start here, actually, if it's okay with you. Did your gender reveal on this show?
Yeah.
Got a healthy baby at home. How are you? How you doing?
We're good. The baby's finally gaining weight. The joke is that I never thought anybody in my family would struggle to gain weight. But she's finally gaining weight. She's reached that age where she's starting to sleep a little bit better.
Good.
Thankfully. Smile a lot more. You know, she still gets fussy occasionally, and she's kicking like a madman. Yes.
Fun.
Yeah, I don't know what, but kicking is the thing now. Every day they discover something new, but we have this contraption this toy that she lays on, and every time she kicks it, it's like a piano, basically.
Oh, nice.
With the feet.
Yeah.
And she kicks the crap out of that thing. I mean, like hard. So kicking is the new thing today. It'll be something new tomorrow.
What did you have, like the 2 a.m. to 5 or 6 a.m. shift? What was your
No. So my wife is off of work for a couple months for maternity leave, and so thankfully she's more willing to get up with the baby than I am. But I'm a night owl, so I would stay up with the baby until about midnight.
Okay.
And then put her down, and she'd sleep for 2 or 3 hours, and then get hungry again. Now she's reached that age where, in fact, she slept in her crib for the first time last night.
Oh, wow. That's a big move.
I know. So now we're getting about 5 hours, 6 hours if we're lucky
Not
of
bad.
straight sleep at night.
Not
which
bad.
Is fantastic.
Don't you hate? I have a friend who has kids, and each one of them, from the day they brought them home, slept through the night, all that stuff. Don't tell me that. I don't want to hear that. Like, shut up, okay? Just lie and say, we had a hard time too. All 3 of his kids, from the day they brought them home, slept through the night. Even like newborns would sleep like 8-hour blocks for them.
If some people, they get into a routine and they're disciplined and they're able to get their kid to do that. Some people do that and it still doesn't work. I've discovered that. We just kind of go with the flow, and it seems to be working for us.
Whatever works for you, man.
But you know this. Some days, they're going to sleep pretty good, and there's going to be bad days, bad nights where they don't sleep at all. It's just part of it.
Luckily it's a little girl, because there will be some days where you think potty trained, all good, knows how to use the bathroom by themselves, and then one day he's going to look at the trash can next to the toilet and decide, I wonder what that's like, and go in there instead. So
I do that sometimes.
I don't think you have to worry about that with a little girl. You'll probably be okay there. But I looked at him when that happened. I was like, what's wrong with you? Like, where does that come from?
Well,
it looks that they're similar.
They are similar, yeah.
I wanted to see what would happen if I went in there, man.
You never know till you find out.
You never know. Training camp going on all over the state. I did Caleb with SuperTalk News took a very funny picture outside of the practice facility in Oxford today. Did you see it? It was Pete Golding took out the trash, and what I mean by that is the basketball goal that used to be on the sidelines and in team meetings was out in the back of the facility, broken in half. I don't know if they threw it and it broke, or they broke it and they threw it, but that was one thing. He hasn't changed much about like what the program does, brought in a guy that's going to run the same offense, those kind of things. But I think the basketball goal was something that the now head coach was not a fan of, because that was like we're getting rid of the basketball goal. That's the first thing that's happening here, is that's gone.
Oh, I see it.
Isn't that funny?
It just looks like trash. They just threw it out.
Just threw it out back.
It's like it's broken. You could have given that away to somebody.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 2 great pictures at that facility, because it was like the day after everything with Kiffin came to an end. They cleaned out his office, whatever he left behind, and they had like a rack of all kinds of game day shirts and button-up shirts and all that just sitting outside in the parking lot of the facility. So you had that picture out there, and now you've got the basketball goal broken in half. That was one of the few things that Lane Kiffin did at Ole Miss that I never liked. I always thought, one, when you've got guys like Xavier Harris, breaking the basketball goal on the sideline and falling and almost injuring himself, it's probably a bad idea. But then when you lose, and Florida, after they beat you, is just dunking on your basketball goal on the sidelines, rubbing it in your face, you invited stupidity. Did a lot of good, never liked that, now it's gone.
Yeah, I don't think Nick Saban would have done the basketball goal on the sidelines.
Yeah, I doubt it. Somebody says, I wonder if Pete hated the basketball goal because he sucks at basketball. I don't want that in here because I can't shoot,
5'9", 5'10".
He's not particularly big, no.
No.
But was like a leading tackler and all that at Delta State back in his heyday. Was a really good.
That's why he got into coaching. He said, I knew I was never going to make it at the pro level.
Man, 601-879-4395. I was thinking about this today. Favorite training camp cliches? Mine is, I think, just get 1% better every day. I think that's my favorite training camp cliche, because I get what they're trying to say in principle, but it drives me nuts. Oh, we just got 1% better today.
How do you judge 1% better?
I mean, you only have 20 practices or whatever.
So you're only going to get 20% better at most?
Yeah, how good are you guys actually getting there? That and the bigger, stronger, faster. Everybody. And in defense of the coaches that talk about bigger, stronger, faster, what SEC team has a bad strength and conditioning program? There's really not many that.
Well, I'll say this: Florida. Did you hear John Summerall talk about Florida's?
Yeah, he's making all kinds of changes there.
Yeah, apparently they had a lot of injuries because of their strength and conditioning program last year. And he came in, and that was one of the first things that he noticed that needed to be changed, upgraded, altered, something, was their strength and conditioning program.
He's going to win. He's just going to win. I'm afraid of John Summerall at Florida. Somebody asking if Logan Diggs is coming back. I've seen the tweets. Logan Diggs, the Ole Miss running back, obviously did not get drafted. I have seen them. I don't know what they mean. I do know that at the present, like right now, the fifth year does not enjoin transfer rules. So if he is to play college again, he would have to play at Ole Miss unless a separate ruling comes down. My question would be, like he was useful on last year's team. Frankly, they probably could have used him a little bit more late in games that they had big leads in instead of Keywan taking unnecessary hits. Where's his role on this team, though? I mean, they added 3 portal running backs, and they have Mills Knight there on top of Keywan. If he does come back, what role would he have? I don't know. Probably a very limited to non-existent one. Sports Talk Mississippi. We have football practice today. We have football game tonight. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Hey guys, what's happening? What the heck are you doing?
Sports Talk Mississippi on your radio and in the game. Sports Talk Mississippi.
Come on, feel the noise. Girls, rock your boys. We'll get wild, wild, wild. Wild, wild, wild.
Welcome back, Sports Talk Mississippi. Michael Borky, Will East with you. We've got football tonight. On your TV, the Hall of Fame game, Kenny Pickett v. Carson Beck.
Well, I'll take it.
It's something.
Beggars can't be choosers.
No. I mean, I will watch it for at least a little while. And I think it was Tom Fornelli earlier today that said, the best part about the Hall of Fame game is people get really excited about watching the Hall of Fame game, and then about 10 minutes in, they realize they're watching the Hall of Fame game, and they find something else to do. Because obviously, it's not only is it a preseason game, but it's the extra preseason game, and neither one of these teams is going to put any player in any kind of risk. And, I mean, there's position battles and roster battles and stuff if you're a fan of these teams that you can lock in on, but I just can't imagine there's many Cardinals and Panthers fans in our listening audience that are going to do that. I mean, I watch Saints preseason games with intent because you've got 15 or so guys that are fighting for a roster spot. Most of them already know they're either on the team or definitely not going to make it, but there's a handful up for grabs if that interests you, but otherwise it's just live football on your TV tonight. That's all it is.
I guess I'm kind of interested to see Carson Beck play at the pro level.
Because 2 years ago it was, he's number 1 overall pick.
Number 1 overall, and then, ends up going to Miami. Kenny Pickett,
first round pick. He was supposed to be the savior, and obviously, tiny hands Kenny Pickett with his gloves, and who knows? But I will watch. On the text line, I only watched the first half. Yeah, I will give it an honest watch for about the first quarter, and then I'll end up, scrolling, and then I'll have the podcast to do. So it'll actually work out perfectly. The second I get bored, I will be able to find something else to do on purpose. Somebody says I was a huge Cardinals fan when Fitzgerald was playing. He was truly elite. 29 drops in his entire career. Stat of the day for you. Larry Fitzgerald has more tackles in his career than drop passes.
Really?
more tackles than dropped passes in his NFL career.
Who was his? Did he just have a list of quarterbacks? Because if he's getting tackles, that means somebody's throwing interceptions, right?
I mean, Kurt Warner, right, and Carson Palmer was his quarterback too.
Carson Palmer, yeah. Trying to think who else it would have been.
I mean, it's just unbelievable what he did. But the Hall of Fame class, so they will get formally inducted on, I believe Saturday is when the actual ceremony and all that goes down. But, I mean, you'll get to see and hear from them. They'll walk them on the field tonight pregame. And ironically enough, I don't know if irony is the right word, but Drew Brees is getting inducted at Tom Benson Field. So the owner of the Saints paid for the field and the stadium, and Saints legend will be in the Hall of Fame. And let's start there. Drew Brees, 19 years as the quarterback of the Saints. Unfortunately, his last season was the COVID year. I hate that for him. He didn't get the full stadium send-off the way that he deserved. You know, he had the socially distanced, whatever you want to call the crowds on his departure, which is a shame that, you know, his last moment was waving to an empty stadium as opposed to one with real people in it. But, I mean, my how did you become a fan story for the Saints is the worst story of all time. I grew up in upstate South Carolina, didn't have an NFL team. I mean, the Falcons and the Panthers were basically equidistant to me. I didn't really care about either one. Frankly, I ended up really not liking the Falcons for some reason. And I guess it was in my DNA to be a Saints fan. But moved to Mississippi, go to college in Mississippi, spend a lot of time in New Orleans in college, loved, you know, the 2 blocks of New Orleans that we went to in college, which was Bourbon Street and then whatever street the hotel was on. Ended up, you know, going back and actually seeing more of the city over time. And it's like my favorite place in the world now, away from the French Quarter. And then I moved here. And I got a dumpy little apartment here that came with a basic cable package, and it had Fox and then Fox Sports New Orleans. So the only NFL games that I got to watch on Sundays were Saints games because it aired locally on Fox. And then I got all the Pelicans games because Fox Sports New Orleans aired all of the Pelicans games back then. And so I essentially just decided I'm a fan now. This is going to be my team. And that was it. Like, my dad brought me to the stadium when I was 7, and no, none of that. It's just, I moved here. I couldn't afford an extended cable package, and so I like the city. I live nearby. I'm just going to be a fan now. So I didn't get to experience what a lot of you guys listening and a lot of our listeners on the coast in particular dealt with when Katrina came through. And the impact that the football team had on the city is immeasurable. And this is one of the rare inclusions in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame player regardless of where he was. His stats back that up. Statistically, the most accurate passer in the history of the league. All kinds of records, Super Bowl winner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's got all the accolades there. But how many players exist in sports that were the catalyst or whatever for the resurrection of the city? You know what I mean? If Tom Benson moves the Saints when Katrina comes through, like a lot of people thought he was going to, what is New Orleans today without that? And without Drew Brees coming in and bringing a winning culture right away, what is the city without the Saints and what they did in the immediate aftermath of Katrina winning a Super Bowl a few years later? But very few players have that kind of history with their city. And fortunately, because most cities haven't dealt with what New Orleans dealt with, but this is just as much like an emotional saving the region selection as it is him being an elite player selection in the Hall of Fame. He's kind of one of one in that category.
He would not have had the same legacy had he ended up at Miami, which is where he was going to go with Nick Saban there when he was the head coach with the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, they had such a legacy of the undefeated teams and Dan Marino and all that kind of stuff. You know, who's to say his career, he'd have had the same stats or similar stats, whatever. But the fact that he goes to New Orleans in the wake of Katrina and wins the Super Bowl.
3 years later.
I mean, the Saints were the Aints for most of our lives, and he goes there and wins a deadgum Super Bowl.
It's unbelievable. And so he was on, I guess it was Teron Armstead's podcast a couple weeks ago, and he told the story about Miami rejecting him and his visit to New Orleans. And Miami told him, I think he said he had a 20% chance of throwing a football again, that's how messed up his shoulder was, and they didn't believe that he would ever be able to come back. And so Miami was kind of out at that point, and he takes the visit to New Orleans, and, Sean Payton is driving him around, showing him, like, hey, here's the neighborhoods that you guys should live in. They go to dinner or something like that. And then he takes a wrong turn, because Sean Payton was new too, takes a wrong turn, and they go down a street, and the street is blocked because there is a boat that was washed on, inland. Wow. And I think it was a tugboat that was across the road. And so they had to turn around because here's a boat in the middle of the road that was washed up during the hurricane. And Brees said he was like, that's when I looked at Brittany, his wife, and I was like, this is where we have to be, because this is more than just football. And sure enough, it was really his only option anyway, so that's kind of a convenient anecdote in the story. But, imagine that. Quarterback with a messed up shoulder, you've been in San Diego, and you're visiting this place, and they're talking about building the offense around you, and you're wanting to start a family and all that, and your wife's with you, and they take a turn, and there's a boat across the road. All these houses, they don't have roofs on them and things like that, and you sign up to live there and play football there. It's crazy.
And make it into a winner.
Yeah. And so I've only had to learn about this after the fact. The only thing that I really remember about Katrina is I was supposed to see Van Halen in concert.
Really?
And it got canceled, yeah.
Where were you going to see them?
In Greenville, South Carolina, where I grew up. And I guess travel, logistics, or whatever, because it went up and then kind of went east, all the remnants, and they weren't able to get – I was going to go see Van Halen with my mom. I was 14. And they canceled it. That's really all I remember, though. When you're 14, you're kind of ignorant to reality like that sometimes, and it's a special weekend. Apparently, Saints fans are just flocking to Canton to be a part of that, because people attribute him and Sean Payton to saving the city, not just saving the franchise.
Well, by saving the franchise, they saved the city.
Crazy. Well, we'll talk about the other inclusions in the Hall of Fame. One of them you already mentioned on the text line, Larry Fitzgerald. We'll do that when we come back. Sports Talk Mississippi on the night of the Hall of Fame game. We'll be
From the seat. Let's go. To the junction, in the grove, and to the top. Don't hurt yourself. Sports Talk Mississippi on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, Sports Talk Mississippi. Michael Borky and Will East with you on the text line. Saints fan since 72. Lots of memories. Many begin with Breeze. Who dat? His accolades are unbelievable. Super Bowl champion. He was the MVP in that Super Bowl. 13-time Pro Bowler. 7-time passing yards leader in the NFL. 4-time passing touchdowns leader. Led the league in passer rating twice as well. 6-time completion percentage leader. He's already in the Saints Hall of Fame and Ring of Honor, as you can imagine. He has the NFL record for highest completion percentage in a season. Most passing touchdowns in a game with 7. Most consecutive games with a touchdown pass, that's 54. And most career 5,000-yard passing seasons with 5. He completed 68% of his passes in his career, threw for 571 touchdowns to just 243 interceptions, 80,000 358 passing yards in his NFL career going into the Hall of Fame this weekend. This is
why, but he's too short. He can't.
He's too short. He can't play. Yeah. Drew Brees' career in the NFL spans from the year of 9/11 to COVID. That is a true stat.
Wow.
He was a San Diego Charger in 2001, and he retired in 2020.
I remember him getting drafted. He was drafted in the second round, I believe. Purdue. I remember that 2001 draft. I used to keep this is back in the old days. I didn't have internet. I used to keep a log book. I would write down all the draft picks.
Yeah.
Up until like the second round. Back then they did it on Saturday and Sunday. So it was Saturday was like the first through the fifth round.
Could you imagine them trying to pull that off now?
No.
Jeez. Somebody said, didn't Deuce help him with his 100 yards a game? He absolutely did. A lot of people help. Here's the thing, though, about football, and it's been this way forever, and it will always be this way. The quarterback is the one that gets the most. And to be honest, they have to do the most. Quarterback's the most important position on a field for a reason. But also, that's just how it is. I mean, take the 2024 Ole Miss team, by the way. Because we talked about Dart v. Corral yesterday. Well, I don't know if you were hopefully in bed by the time we were talking about that. But there was this online debate. If you had to win one game, which quarterback would you rather have, Dart or Corral? And I said, that's an easy answer. It's Matt Corral. Don't even think about it. Yeah. That 2024 team, people are going to remember, well, look at what Jackson Dart led Ole Miss to an Access Bowl and won an Access Bowl in 11 games. And what a great – 2024 they did. 2023 they did that.
23, yeah.
23 did that. 24 was the bad year. But think about how many other players contributed to that. That wasn't just Jackson Dart. But he was the quarterback, and he's the one that led Ole Miss to those games. Somebody brought up Bo Wallace yesterday. Well, Bo Wallace beat Nick Saban. You know how great they were defensively that day? I mean, they were unbelievable that day. Laquan Treadwell was dominant, et cetera, et cetera. But Bo Wallace is the guy that beat Nick Saban's Alabama. The quarterback is always going to get the all of the glory for what happens with the team. It just happens that way. Somebody says if the Miami Doctors had cleared Drew Brees to play for the Dolphins, Nick Saban might still be coaching in the NFL. That is, of all the what-ifs in sports, that is the best one there is.
I read an interview or something one time where Nick Saban said he knew that he wasn't going to make it in the NFL with the Dolphins when he couldn't pick the backup quarterback. You know, he really didn't get the opportunity to say, yeah, despite Drew Brees' shoulder, we're going to take him. He didn't have that chance. And then I can't remember the backup quarterback situation, but the GM basically told him, nah, you're not going to have that guy. So he said, if I can't select the backup quarterback, what power do I have? And that the writing was kind of on the wall.
Yeah. But think about it. Isn't it?
But that is one of the great.
It's the best one.
Hinge points. If he goes there, you're a quarterback away on a lot of these teams.
Almost exclusively, everybody in the league is a quarterback away from being elite.
I mean, even if they delay him a year or two from leaving the league,
he's not in Alabama.
He's not at Alabama. Let's say he goes to a Ohio State. I don't remember who the coach was.
Oh gosh, Saban at Ohio State. That would have been horrible.
But think about he's from West Virginia. He had coached in Cleveland.
Coached for Michigan State.
Coached for Michigan. So he's familiar with the area. Think about how that changes everything.
The most dominating run in the history of college football never happens.
What if he goes to Texas? Okay.
Thought about going to Texas.
But this is before the Texas was in the SEC. Does that save the Big 12? Does that make the Big 12 the dominant conference?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Somebody put in quotes, 2024 was a bad year, ... Borky. It was. It was. Yes, they ultimately won 10 games, and that's great. You cannot, with a straight face, tell me that Ole Miss had a good year overall in 2024 when they lose to Kentucky at home, when they lose to LSU, and when they lose to Florida playing a fifth-string running back. I'm sorry. I know you're a State fan and you want me to say that Ole Miss should be lucky to win 10 games. No. When you have the number one defense in all of college football and all you have to do is beat Kentucky at home to make the playoff, when you have all the drama with the Bentley deal and telling Judkins to move on and you don't adequately replace that, and no, that was a bad year. Ole Miss fans should not look fondly on the year 2024. Not when you have the number one defense in college football. They blew it. That was the floor of that team. Hayden and I talk about this sometimes. Joe Moorhead, in his first year at Mississippi State, reached the floor because he had the best defense statistically in college football that season and lost 4 games. It's just unacceptable. That was the floor of that season. That was the worst that team could have been when you're that good on that side of the ball. 9-3 is the worst Ole Miss could have been that year. I guess maybe they lose the Georgia game, but they were dominant defensively that day too. Mm-hmm. It's not like they lit up the scoreboard. It's just Carson Beck, forgive my language, was in hell for 4 quarters. So much so that he was laughing on the sidelines late in the game because he was like, I don't know what to do. I mean, he's like, this sucks. I'm miserable. It was a bad year. It was. And you're not going to gaslight me, Mississippi State fans, into thinking that 2024 was anything other than a bad year relative to what they should have been, at least. Other guys going into the Hall of Fame, I don't remember this guy. He retired when I was 1. Roger Craig was the first player in NFL history to have 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards in the same season, 3-time Super Bowl winner. I just, obviously, I don't have a memory of him, but that's a pretty incredible stat right there. Larry Fitzgerald, 16 years in the league. His drop rate was 1.4%. 1.4% was his drop rate at wide receiver over a 16-year career.
Roger Craig's from Mississippi.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Where in Mississippi?
I think from Preston.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I don't remember where he went to college, but yeah, he's from Mississippi.
So Larry Fitzgerald going in. Luke Kuechly going in as well. Short career. He retired young, but he is one of only 2 linebackers in the history of the NFL alongside Lawrence Taylor to win Defensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. Was a Pro Bowler in all 7 of his seasons and was the best player at his position in the league the entire time he was in the league. There's kind of debate whether or not he should be in because of the shortness of his career, but I think this is an apt inclusion, even though he wasn't in the league that long. He was just feared every time he stepped on the field.
Tell the Kentucky Will Stein
gosh,
story.
That was awesome. So we asked Will Stein, Kentucky's head coach, when he sat with us at SEC Media Days, who's the best high school football player you've ever seen in person. And so he was from Louisville, but I don't know if you guys knew this. Louisville, pretty darn close to Ohio. And they were playing, what was it, St. Xavier, right? St. X? Isn't that who it was?
Something like that.
But they're scouting this high school that they're playing, and they have 10 players on their defense that have offers, that have stats from last year. They know who they are, great players. And then there's one that they called a toad. Didn't have any stats from last year, didn't play, not a guy they have to worry about. He's just a guy. We got to scout for the rest of them. And the just a guy that was a lacrosse player until that season happened to be Luke Kuechly, one of the greatest linebackers to ever play the game. And then finally going in, Adam Vinatieri, one of, if not the most clutch kickers in the history of the sport. 29 game-winning field goals, 10 of them in overtime. 10 overtime game-winning field goals for Adam Vinatieri. That's a career right there.
More Super Bowl rings than any other kicker, I believe.
He just was automatic.
He was automatic for the Patriots and then the Colts.
Yeah. Good stuff there. Sports Talk, Mississippi. 601-879-4395, the C Spire text line. We'll be back in just a minute.
in the Venable.
Back to the sports. This is Sports Talk Mississippi.
Sounds good.
On Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back, Sports Talk Mississippi. On the text line, what happens if Deion Sanders stays at Jackson State? Does HBCU football get bigger? What if he never left and took the Colorado job? Me and my coworker had this argument earlier. I said he'd have been better off staying and building a program at Jackson State. So, two separate thoughts. One is he took the Colorado job because he wanted Shedeur to go play at a bigger program. I mean, that was a dad move. That was not a coaching move. I don't think, anyway. What if he stayed at Jackson State? There's no telling, man, because I remember going to College Game Day that was in the parking lot of that stadium right across from the hospital there, and it was wild. I mean, I've been to College Game Day a lot. Went to it a couple times as a kid and went to it in Oxford twice, and it's really cool. And even today, after it's lost its fastball and all of the stuff around College Game Day, when they show up to your campus, you are the star of the weekend. Jackson State was the star of the college football weekend. I don't think that was going to go away had he stuck around. My concern is what would have happened after, Travis Hunter's not there anymore, after Shedeur's not there anymore. Would he have been able to sustain a level of winning? Because right now at Colorado, he was the center of college football there too for a while, and they won, and he had the Heisman Trophy winner and all those things. But he very famously, openly admits to not recruiting. They have a private jet for him to use with money allocated to go to the private jet so he can go recruit. Doesn't use it. And I don't mean he doesn't use it compared to what Jeff Lebby and Pete Golding do on the recruiting trail. No, I mean he literally does not use it. He does not go on recruiting visits. Talks about it openly. Says they can come to me. I'm Coach Prime. They can come to me. I'm not going to go to them. So there's no way that would have lasted, I don't think, at Jackson State. I think that was a lightning in the bottle situation, and I don't know if you would have gotten sustained winning. And once you stop winning, attention goes somewhere else quickly. I mean, Colorado last season had no attention. Nobody cared. Nobody paid attention. The team wasn't very good. They're probably going to be bad again. Nobody's going to care. So all of the gravity that came with him would have, I think, disappeared rather quickly, unfortunately. Because he wouldn't have won long term. I don't think.
But Jackson State's had some good teams since then. They've
been good since then.
Not last year, but the year before, they won 12 games.
Yeah, it's... Let's see. So this will be year... 4 at Colorado, right?
Yeah, maybe year 4 or something like that.
In Jackson State, since then... Gosh, this is hard to navigate. One thing that we need to invest in one day, Will, is a easy-to-navigate database for wins and losses.
All right. So,
they won the conference in 24, going 12-2.
Yeah.
But here we go. This is crazy how long that this has taken. TC Taylor's gone 19-6, 13-3 in the league. They're still winning. He's doing a really good job. His name's not Deion Sanders, and so he won't get College Game Day. But they're still winning.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd have won like this without him. But maybe I'm wrong. Somebody says it's just incredible to think in the mindset of a quarterback, having Larry Fitzgerald and he only drops 1 out of 100 passes. That's a big no-brainer. As far as I know and remember, he was as good of a person as a player. If you guys listen to the show every day, and I know most of you do, you know that you can probably call it a stick in the mud. I think that we have gone way too far in antics and celebrations and stuff like that. I mean, you got this pitcher now for the Mets that every time he strikes out a guy, he does this goofy jump thing and like does all these dances. It's like, I hope the next guy hits a 3-run home run off of you and just walks up to the pitcher's mound and places the bat in front of your feet. I hate when people act like that. You know, when it's a Coach Carter quote. When did winning stop being good enough? And Larry Fitzgerald was the epitome of that. He would catch a touchdown pass. The first thing he would do is ball to the officials and then to his teammates, because you don't score a touchdown by yourself in football. And I loved that about him. And my dad, when I was a kid, would always say, act like him. When you do something good in sports, do what he does. Ball to the official, go congratulate your teammates for helping you get to that point. And we've lost that. It's, again, I know I'm a stick in the mud. I get it. But this look at me, look at how great I am stuff in sports, you don't do anything alone in sports unless you're a golfer. And even still, you got a caddy that's helping you a ton. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and there should be more Larry Fitzgeralds out there. We will, after the news, we're going to catch up with the news. We'll talk to Caleb and get an update on the basketball goal that has been moved to a dumpster, as it turns out. They have gotten rid of the trash at Oxford. We'll talk about that and more with him when we come back.
The friggin' wax out of your ears. Did you hear me?
This is Sports Talk. Sports Talk, Mississippi.
Woo! I say, sports fans.
Now, here's more on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Isn't that the dumbest picture you've ever seen?
Sports Talk Mississippi, hour number 2. Michael Borky, Will East with you. We'll tell you what's coming up here in just a little bit, because right now we got to get to the Farm Bureau guest line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team. Caleb Saylor's missing a button on his shirt as well. You got to tighten that thing up, Caleb. You don't see this picture, but we got to tighten you up a little bit on the golf shirt you got on, brother.
Yeah, I've never been more grateful to not be tuning in to C Spire TV right now.
So you broke the news, very important news, that the basketball goal has not only been destroyed but discarded of.
Yeah, I think the staff actually saw my post and was like, "Oh crap, we got to throw this thing away." But yeah, so when I got to the Manning Center today, I noticed that I think Jake Thompson and Michael Katz were with me, and I was like, "Guys, do y'all notice that?" And I pointed in, the trash can was like the basketball goal was dismembered. And I was like, well, I think they made a statement there by getting rid of that thing, because, you know, people who've been watching Ole Miss over the years, especially these last few years, knew that was one of the things, you know, the players, after scoring a touchdown, getting an interception, forcing a turnover, whatever, would quote-unquote dunk on their opponent on the sideline. And Pete Golding made note of that after his first game as head coach against Tulane in the playoff, when he was asked, you know, you said you wanted to keep the ship kind of sailing, keep things the same. What are some of the differences, though, that you've implemented since taking over as head coach? He pointed to his right. He said, you see one thing that's missing here. And so, yeah, I think they made it a mission to get rid of that basketball goal and just focus on football.
And what's interesting, though, the juxtaposition between that, because it's very clear that he was not a fan of that. But you hear some of the players after practice today talking about not only the offense. Now, there's going to be slight differences because John David Baker is not Charlie Weiss Jr., but they do the same stuff, and they're going to want to try to keep the offense very similar to what they were running last year because it worked. And you hear more players today talking about how the practice schedule is, you know, very similar to the one that they were doing last year. So even though he's getting rid of something like the basketball goal, it sounds like he's not making the mistake of just getting away from changing literally everything for the sake of changing it and keeping what worked and getting rid of the basketball goal.
I mean, what's the old adage, Borky? If it ain't broke, no need to fix it. And so, I mean, yeah, of course they're going to take some things that they liked from what Lane Kiffin had done with the program before. And obviously, a lot of what Lane Kiffin did came from Nick Saban, and who learned Nick Saban better than Pete Golding. And so, I mean, the wheel's not being reinvented here in Oxford. I mean, a lot of the things are the same. Practice schedule, what they do at practice, a lot of that is the same. And now there are going to be some tweaks here and there. Trinidad Chambliss talked about how, John David Baker and Charlie Weiss run a very similar scheme, but there are some differences in it. Kewan Lacey said one of the things that he's noticed about the scheme that's different is some of the more explosive pieces. Now, Borky, I'll tell you one thing, I didn't get to see any of that today at practice. What they allowed us to see today was Oscar Bird punting the ball and some guys returning it, which wasn't really any returns. They just caught the ball. But so we'll get to see more of that on September 6th. I mean, I think from what I saw today at practice or at fall camp, it's not really fall camp, versus, what we're going to see on September 6th is night and day different, right? I mean, we're not really going to know anything until that first kickoff, but you can assess what the players are saying. And the players are saying, look, while a lot of things are similar, while the ship is sailing in a similar direction as it was last year, there are some notable changes, and a lot of that is Pete Golding being head coach, running the program the way he sees fit, and on the offensive side of the ball, it being John David Baker's offense.
Punting is important. You don't want to do it a whole lot, but, I mean, you probably learned a ton from witnessing practice today, though. The 15 minutes of punts, I mean, the record prediction's totally different now, right? I mean...
Oscar Bird is still good at punting the football. That's what I learned. And one thing I did see today, though, was that Kewan Lacey caught a couple of those punts. Now, I don't know how that's going to impact day-to-day operations. I seriously doubt Kewan Lacey's going to be the everyday punt returner. I would put my entire life savings on him not being the everyday punt returner, but him catching the punt and him talking about how one of the biggest things he's focused on in the offseason is his catching ability and refining that skill. That is something I took note of. And so while there wasn't really much to kind of assess today and take note of, one thing that I did highlight was that Kewan Lacey was catching punts, and he did emphasize how much he has worked on his catching in the offseason.
So two things can be true at once. That is really the one thing that Kewan Lacey did not show, not necessarily because he couldn't. They didn't really ask him to catch the ball out of the backfield all that much. That was not a part of the offense, at least in major part. So, that's a good thing that's happening. The NFL is going to want to see that. I don't know what authority I have, but if Kewan Lacey ever takes the field in a real game to catch a punt, I'm firing somebody. So somebody's getting fired. I don't know who. I'll figure out what kind of authority I have. But, the fans should storm the field to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, I think the special teams coach and even Frank Wilson, the running backs coach, might get a stern talking to from a lot of the fans.
The fans might boo their own team if Kewan goes out there to take a punt. Seriously.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. But he was catching punts today. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, no, he won't be a punt returner. And in college football, Mississippi State fans, plug your ears. Punt returns aren't really a factor anymore, it seems. Punters are getting so good. Hang time is there. And, the days of Devin Hester, it just feels like those are gone. I know it happens. Again, sorry, State fans, to open an old wound, but there's just not that many opportunities to return punts anymore. You just fair catch the ball, start wherever the punt lands, as opposed to trying to turn that into something.
Yeah, I know you mentioned, for opening a wound for Mississippi State fans, because our Mississippi State fan listeners are probably like, did you guys see how we lost the Texas game last year? But you're 100% right. So, again, from what we got to see today, we got to see the Oscar Bird, who is a notable returning punter, one of the best in college football. It was a big deal for Ole Miss to retain him, is still good at punting the football.
And that's about it, right? Otherwise, you talk to players. Did you learn anything from those conversations? I guess it was, quote-unquote, media day up there, so a lot of players were made available. What'd you learn?
Yeah, 15 players made available to us. I made an emphasis to talk to Deuce Alexander and Jonte Cook. Jonte Cook, fantastic interview, by the way, talking to them about, Deuce mainly, about how the wide receiver core lost a lot of production from last year, and they've got, a revamped group with some unproven commodities at this level, but his leadership and how he's kind of stepped up. And he said, last year I came into this as kind of a, not afterthought, but as a second thought. Trey Wallace, Dejon Stribling, and even Daquan Wright at tight end were the main guys, but I was more of a 50-50 guy, so I've stepped up to be more of a possession receiver. I'm going to be a guy that you'll be able to rely on, count on, depend on at any given moment of the game. I'm going to step up and be that guy, but also we've got a good group around us of guys that are more than capable of replicating last year's production. And Jonte Cook, to that point, he said that he's willing to be whatever the team needs him to be. He doesn't have a specific defined role for himself, that he just wants to be a guy that's, reliable, a guy that's, doing whatever he can to put the team first. So it seems like a lot of guys, a lot of team first mentality. And again, I know these guys go into these media day, these availabilities, being coached up, kind of told what to say. But I did hear a lot of team first. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, got to catch up with Jonel Aguero and Antonio Kite, Will Eccles, some of the guys. Now, the returning guys, talking to Will Eccles and Suntarian Perkins, they talked about how they kind of viewed Pete Golding as their head coach, even when Lane Kiffin was head coach, because they dealt with him on a day-to-day basis. He ran the defense. Kiffin really didn't have his hands on that. And so there wasn't really much of a transition from him becoming defensive coordinator, going from defensive coordinator to head coach. Now, the new guys, though, they said, like Aguero and some of the others that I've gotten to talk to have said one of the reasons that they chose to come to Ole Miss was because of Pete Golding. Obviously, NIL factors into all of this, but because of the success Ole Miss has had, not just on the defensive side of the ball, but in college football. I mean, Jonel Aguero was a guy that was at Georgia watching Ole Miss beat his team in the playoff. And so, I got to learn about, a lot of the team first mentality these guys have. A lot, they're not, looking at individual accolades, individual awards, trying to get, Heisman or any of the other various awards that come postseason. They're worried about Louisville, week 1.
SuperTalk.fm is where you can read the coverage from one Caleb Sailors. Also, you hear him during commercial breaks as well. But if you want sports content, it's not just Ole Miss, it's sports in Mississippi. They cover it at SuperTalk News. Safe travels back to Jackson, Caleb. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Borky. Appreciate you, man.
We'll be right back. Sports Talk Mississippi. There's some controversy on Capitol Hill. Wait, no, this is not Mornings with Richard Cross, but there is college sports controversy on Capitol Hill. I'll tell you a little bit about it. We won't spend too much time on it, but I do want to give you an update. We'll do that when we come back.
From Sports Talk Mississippi. Are you ready? On the SuperTalk app, SuperTalk.fm, and always on your local SuperTalk Mississippi station.
Welcome back, Sports Talk Mississippi. Michael Borky alongside Will East for a little bit longer. Anyway, on this Thursday afternoon, rain and thunderstorms are coming through the state, not just today, but over the next few days. So if you have a yard or you have property or a farm, well, I don't know how this impacts farmers. I've never been one myself, but things have been a little bit dry lately. Well, with rain is going to come growth. And if you are like me and you've got some crappy little push mower that you have a yard that you fight with that thing, and when the grass is tall, it's hard to push it because it's fighting back against you, you're going to have trouble over the next few days. Are you working your yard, or is it working you like mine works me sometimes? If that is the case, Ag Up has got you covered. They have America's Tractor, America's Lawnmower. They've got things all the way from zero turns all the way up to the gigantic stuff and everything in between. Ag Up has got the compact tractor from John Deere, 0% financing on 1 through 4 series models. And again, anything for your yard, your property, your hunting land, your farm. Ag Up's got over a dozen dealers in the state of Mississippi, so there's likely to be one near you. If you're a first-time landowner, or you're looking to trade up and upgrade or switch over to America's Tractor, Ag Up's team knows how to take care of you because they are you. That's the cool part about talking to them. They're not just somebody that works at a dealership. They're people that have property, that have hunting land, that live and work on farms. They understand you and your needs. AGUP.com, Ag Up Equipment and John Deere, built for what's next. See dealer for details. Great question here on the text line. What do you think the win total is going to have to be for Lebby to keep his job? And if he can't meet that, who are 2 or 3 guys that you think emerge as candidates? Feel like there are no big names out there like there have been in the past. Thanks, always. A great show. Keep it up. Well, thank you for thanking us. We appreciate you. So most of the time when a question like that gets asked, people just give, he's got to go 8-4. I don't look at it like that. I think there's a lot of nuance to specifically Jeff Lebby keeping his job. So assuming the injury situation is normal, like knock on wood, State fans, if Camario gets hurt week 2 and Kelly Jones week 3, change your calculus. There you go, hey Dad, if you're listening. Change your calculus on the season. So assuming normal injury situation, I think if they lose more than they win, Jeff Lebby needs to go. I mean, that's just a need, because if in the portal era, the NIL era like this, where coaches are flipping rosters in a year, sometimes 2, and you have 3 consecutive losing seasons, the assumption would be also if you go 5-7 or 4-8, you would lose to Ole Miss again, so that's 3 straight losses to your in-state rival. It's not moving in the right direction. You need to move on. I think 6-6 can be dangerous because you can fall into a purgatory where you don't feel like you're improving, but you're just kind of stuck in the middle, and that's the worst place to be, because if you're so bad, you make a coaching change, that's good for morale and donations and all that. Or if you're good, it does the same thing. But if you're stuck in the middle, you have a hard time selling season tickets, you have a hard time rallying people to give money to pay the players, and you need money to pay the players to go get better players, and it's a bad place to be. But what does that 6-6 look like? Does Camario struggle early on because he's a young quarterback? I mean, his 4th ever start is going to be at Minnesota. His 5th is going to be at South Carolina. Ever in his life as a college football player, that's tough. And so does he struggle early and lead to some early losses, but by the end of the season, he's playing really well, and you still go 6-6, but there was a lot of, pun intended, sort of forward progress in the program and in the development of your quarterback? Then that is an acceptable thing, and you look forward to the future. But is it a 6-6 where it looks a lot like last year, where, you beat a couple of the bad teams on your schedule? Maybe you go up and beat Minnesota. You get Vanderbilt, you get Missouri at home, but you lose to Ole Miss again. You get beat up by bad teams again, and Jeff Lebby cost them a game with bad game management. Then even going back to a bowl game at 6-6 should not be enough. So it depends on what it looks like and how it feels. And then if he wins more than he loses, he will be back in 2027, guaranteed, no matter what, I think. He's not getting fired at 7-5 regardless. So those are kind of the tiers. Second part of your question, candidates. That's an interesting one. Dan Mullen will be one, as long as UNLV is good again this year. The problem is Dan Mullen will be a candidate at a lot of other places. What happens if it doesn't work out for Luke Fickell at Wisconsin? I promise you Wisconsin's calling Dan Mullen. I promise you that will happen, because he runs an offense that will bring them back to their identity. So you would have to fight against other jobs for a guy like Dan Mullen. But you're right, though. Right now, the candidate list, the guys that are coaching lesser jobs that are looking for an upgrade, there's not that many of them out there. There's no John Sumrall out there that hey, this guy's a winner, he's winning, and now it's his time to jump up. That guy doesn't really exist in college football right now.
Another factor is what happened in the coaching circus last year. You had a lot of movement. Mm-hmm. A lot of those guys are in year 1.
A lot of that.
So you're not going to see a whole lot of these big domino effects like you had with some of these coaches who got, like when Brian Kelly gets fired, Okay, there's a huge domino effect. Lane Kiffin goes here. Ole Miss promotes a coach here. You're not going to have those big domino effects like you did last year.
I hope this is a troll. I'm trying to scroll back. Okay, I am scrolling back to realize that you are a troll. Okay, good, because somebody said Shane Beamer will be available soon, and I am so glad that you're trolling, because I don't know what I would have said in response to that. Somebody says, not a State fan, but I would think more than one SEC win. What about Billy Napier for the second chance? Here's a problem with that, though. You can must-champ yourself when you do that. Billy Napier couldn't win at Florida. Florida is a better job than Mississippi State at the present. If he can't get it done at Florida, why do you think a year later he's going to be able to get it done where you are? And he's also taking over a James Madison program that is in really, really, really good shape. And so if he goes and wins 9 or 10 games this season, what makes you think that he's figured it out as a coach as opposed to he took over a program that was already, in really good shape? I mean, James Madison right now, I think it's the bell cow of the Sun Belt.
Yeah. Charles Huff.
That's a great one. He would be somebody I'd be willing to bet if they have a good year would also be looking to move up quickly. I mean, ask other Miss fans. I mean, he gave his press conference at Memphis and he was like, this is going to be a power program soon. And, the Memphis media is kind of doing that too. And I regret to inform you guys, that's not happening. It's just not. So, I mean, he's got familiarity with the state, obviously. He's coached at Mississippi State. He's a winner. He gets the portal. He makes good staff hires. Did Napier land a job? Yes, he's at James Madison, which is a little surprising. So you have two G5 programs, now G6, that made the playoff. And both of them lost their coaches. Tulane replaces Sumrall with Will Hall, who was awful as a G5 coach. James Madison replaces their outgoing coach with Billy Napier, who was good at Louisiana, but horrendous at Florida. It's like the striking while the iron was hot didn't really occur to either one of those places. Thoughts on Jimbo? Oh, gosh. Let's not. Apparently, Jimbo did say that he was wanting to come back into coaching.
But your point still applies. If you can't win at the place that has almost every resource humanly possible.
Yeah, when he was there, they had more money than anybody. They had the best players in the country.
Number 1 recruiting classes, left and right. Still couldn't win.
Is Mullen acceptable for Alabama when DeBoer gets fired? Well, he's got like a $70 million buyout this offseason, but I think that answer would be yes. I do. Somebody says Charlie Weiss Jr. I saw an On3 article that had both him and Blake Baker as possible head coach candidates. If you're Mississippi State, though, you can't go from unproven offensive coordinator to unproven offensive coordinator when you're hiring a coach. Especially, at least Lebby, when he was at Oklahoma, was not under an offensive-minded guy. Charlie Weiss Jr. he's working under Kiffin. How much is it actually Charlie? I think it's more than people give him credit for, but still, you have to go to a sitting head coach. I mean,
and that's been Lebby's issue is
game management. And it had been scheme. Scheme is great. Good question, though. Glad you guys are here. Will, you're stepping out. Rhino about to step in. So glad that you guys are with us. We're in the Pearl River Resort Studio. I mentioned Capitol Hill. I will give you a quick update on the Save College Sports Bill. The president is trying hard to get it passed, but a couple of things have gotten in their way. I'll tell you what those are when we come back.
From the Seabrook Paint.
Talk Mississippi.
Introducing to you
Sports Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back, Sports Talk Mississippi. Borky and Rhino with you. Hey, that'll be back on Monday. Glad that you guys are with us wherever you are in the great state of Mississippi. We've got 12 stations, 82 counties. That's how many there are in this state. All of them can hear us, and it feels like most of them can hear us two different ways. Every time I'm in the car, I could... when I'm driving to remotes in particular, I can find SuperTalk stations across the dial, depending on where you are. So glad that you're here. If you're watching on SuperTalk TV or listening to the podcast, wherever you are, just really appreciate you being here. Don't forget, if you only catch us in the car, because some of you do that. I heard from a listener the other day that, hey, man, on my drive home from work, I'm always glad to put you on. And I said, well, what about the rest of the show? He's like, I miss it, but... No, you don't have to do that. On your phone, if you have a phone from C Spire, or, the other services too. But we would tell you to get a C Spire phone. If you have a phone, it has a podcast app already built into it. It's already on there. Pull it up, search Sports Talk Mississippi, and hit that subscribe button. You get this show commercial-free every single day. So the Save College Sports Act is trying to get on the floor for a vote in the Senate. Obviously, it's got to clear the House as well, and then on the president's desk for him to sign. If it gets to that point, he will sign it if it gets there. The SEC and the Big Ten were resistant to this for a long time. I think there are a lot of problems with the bill. I think in part, if you are a principled constitutionalist, the federal government deciding what legal adults should make without their say is against the Constitution, from my perspective. That's how I feel. You're free to feel differently. But out of principle, I don't think the government should tell any adult how much money they're allowed to make without them or a representative of them agreeing to whatever cap, restriction, or whatever. I don't think that should be allowed. I think it's against the Constitution. It's un-American. But that's not the only part of it. You've got these anti-conference expansion rules, and there's a lot of bad in this thing. And frankly, if it ever goes to the Supreme Court, I don't know if it would hold up. But they're still trying to push it through. And they're getting close. The president's been in major support of it. He sent a letter out today basically telling senators and congressmen that are willing to listen to him to vote for it. But a couple of things have gotten in the way. Timing has gotten in the way. They're about to recess for a month, and they've got other things on the docket. But two hiccups, two hurdles. One of them, which this was expected, not surprising, because they did this with the SCORE Act as well. The Congressional Black Caucus released a statement saying that they cannot support an advancement of the what's actually called the Protect College Sports Act. Not Saving College Sports Act, but Protect College Sports Act. So that's a hurdle, because that's what ended the SCORE Act. And that is the same group that was out against this, I guess, a month and a half ago or so. And they are urging all of their members to vote to not advance this bill. So that's a hurdle, possibly one that is too big to overcome. We'll see.
But do they even really have a problem with the bill itself, or are they playing politics with the bill?
So a few weeks ago, they, I guess Hakeem Jeffries in particular, said on record that states in the SEC's footprint that are trying to go through the redistricting have institutions. So he blamed the colleges in Louisiana. He said Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee. I think Georgia. I think he said all of the SEC states, but he certainly said a few. He said that the institutions were engaged in Jim Crow-era voter suppression.
Right.
Because Ole Miss and Mississippi State are the ones that are doing the redistricting, because that makes sense. But to your long-winded way to say, yes, they're playing politics.
Hakeem Jeffries has never been accused of having more than a room temperature IQ.
And that's what I said at the time. Well, this is what you invited, though, when you invite Congress in, is you invite Congress things. Another hurdle from a totally opposite direction. Now, we're not going to debate the merits of this kind of thing today, but what I'm about to say is an objective fact. Senators Josh Hawley, Jim Banks, and Tommy Tuberville have filed an amendment to the Protect College Sports Act to, quote, ensure the bill does not overturn any state laws banning men from women's sports. And look, I know how the overwhelming majority of you guys feel about that amendment in the bill. But there are people that are going to vote on the bill that will look at that and then not vote for it. Regardless of how you feel about it, that is an objective fact. There are people that will vote against this bill now because of that amendment. So that is now in the way of this bill getting passed as well. Even if you think that is the most basic, like elementary, yes, like that amendment should exist, and I'm totally fine with it. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter what you out there listening think. What matters is there are people that are going to vote on this that will immediately vote no with that amendment on it. If you think that's crazy or right, we're not debating that here. That's for Mornings with Richard Cross. But
it's sports involved.
I mean, we did talk about that once. Haydad was very uncomfortable. I think what I said, the overwhelming majority of our audience agreed with. But, you know, we try our best to stick to sports anyway. But they have completely crossed over. But that will also get in the way of this bill. And there is a time crunch on this as well. So if they're able to get it, they're trying to vote for it before recess. That might not happen. And if it does, these two things might prevent it from actually moving forward, which ultimately, again, I think that it is I think that's the best way. I'm not always right. I'm certainly open to hearing opinions to the contrary on this. I just don't think that this is the government's responsibility. I can't believe that with all of the things that they could be doing with your time, which is what it is. It's your money that pays them, and it's your time that they're spending on college sports. They could be spending on something more valuable. I don't think that this is the responsibility of government. Like, part of the bill says that they have to play the national championship game by January 8th or something like that. And it's a good idea. I think that the postseason in college football takes too long. Why on earth is the government deciding when a football game should be played? However much time was spent on adding that to the bill is time wasted to me.
Well, the good news is if they don't get it done by recess, when they get back from recess, they'll be worried about the budget.
They'll be worried about budget, and then there's,
avoiding a government shutdown.
All those things. So I don't like it. I think that it's a very complicated situation, but I do still agree with the athletic director at Tennessee that they need to explore the concept of collective bargaining, because you can defend it in court. In fact, you can't really get taken to court because you have bargained with the people involved. They have agreed to the terms, just like in the NFL, the NBA, all that. So you would stop losing in court and you could have enforceable rules again. You would have to admit that they're not just students anymore, which the quarterback at Ole Miss is making $5 million. He's not a student. He's a professional football player, as is everybody on Ole Miss and Mississippi State's football team. They're professionals now. So they have to admit that they're not students anymore, that they're professionals. And they would have to stop treating the number 5 on the golf team at Miami of Ohio the same way you treat the quarterback at Georgia. And to this point, they are unwilling to separate those two things. But when that day comes, I think that is the best path forward. Again, Tennessee's AD has been really in the forefront of, guys, let's stop the charade. Can we please just do what we need to do to get rules back? Because Congress isn't helping, and even if they do, they're probably going to get sued and lose. And can we just, do this the right way? And to this point, not too many people are listening to him. But we'll see. There's your update from Capitol Hill. More on Mornings with Richard Cross tomorrow and Middays with Gerard, because that's about enough politics for me today. What do you say, Rhino?
Oh, I had my fill at 1 o'clock.
Oh, man. 601-879-4395. Somebody says the federal government should not be legislating college sports, period. The problem with bills like this is all the crap they add. They do not need to give the NCAA more power, especially when we know the NCAA does a really bad job with it. Preach it. Government shouldn't be in sports of any kind. NCAA opened this can of worms. Let them fix it. There are other things to be worrying about, and worrying about a football game the government needs to keep out. Government only needs to get involved if we think the competition is becoming unfair, bordering on antitrust issues. Criticism is that the P4 are creating an unfair monopoly. That's why I think they should separate and collectively bargain and stop pretending that the SEC is the same as the Mountain West. But that's a conversation for another day. Politics out. We'll get back to sports when we come back.
And the Venable Glass Traffic Center, look for delays northbound Lakeland at Treetops. Also look for delays south on Flowwood at Highway 80. Otherwise, traffic flowing smooth elsewhere. Buckle up, drive safe. This update brought to you by River Trust Federal Credit Union. With early direct deposit from River Trust FCU, your paycheck can arrive up to 2 days early. Whether it's paying bills or treating yourself, early direct deposit ensures your money's ready when you are. Visit our website or give us a call to get started. Federally insured by NCUA.
Patriotism is alive at A Complete Flag Source. Honor those who serve our country year-round with the U.S. flag made here in the USA. We are ready to help you with all your flag needs. We have all kinds of flag poles, spinner poles, boardroom poles, in-ground poles from 15 to 150 feet, which we can install at your home, school, church, or business. So shop local at a 25-year-old family-owned business. A Complete Flag Source, 5295 I-55 North in Jackson, 601-362-9333, or CompleteFlags.com.
We've sent that Rip Van Winkle guy to the dentist.
Hey, what? Hey, what?
And what's worse than a trip to the dentist? Your wife's paint project that you've put off. Let Seabrook Paint in Jackson and Ridgeland find that Benjamin Moore Paint and a contractor that will get you back doing the important things in life, like grilling and watching sports. Seabrook, Benjamin Moore Paint, and a happy wife, happy life. Seabrook Paint in Jackson on Monument and in Ridgeland on West Jackson.
First down.
My name is Whitney.
Body shop that's always believed in using OEM parts and repairing vehicles to their original factory condition is Clinton Body Shop. Auto accidents are stressful, and the last thing you need is a repair that devalues your car and makes it unsafe. In a time when more than ever insurers are pushing consumers to body shops that work for them and not you, we want to remind you Clinton Body Shop believes you deserve to have your vehicle returned to its pre-accident condition. That's why we use OEM parts and OEM repair procedures. In fact, we're trained and certified by more automakers than any body shop in Mississippi. So remember, it's your right to choose where to get your repair. So choose Clinton Body Shop in Clinton or Richland. As our founder always said, we really do take pride in perfection. Go to ClintonBodyShop.com.
Retirement planning isn't about chasing hype and risking your nest egg. It's about taking decades of hard work and saving and turning it into a steady, reliable paycheck that lasts as long as you do. At Element Wealth, we specialize in income planning, helping you turn your nest egg into steady, predictable income so you can enjoy the lifestyle that you've worked so hard for without worrying about running out of money. To schedule your complimentary income plan review, call Element Wealth at 601-957-6006 or visit myelementwealth.com.
This is professional ball player and former Mississippi State Bulldog, Jake Mangum. To be a strong team, every player has to be dedicated. Farm Bureau is exactly that. Their dedication to providing me with excellent customer service and competitive rates is outstanding. If you aren't already on the team, it's time to join Farm Bureau. Visit favrates.com for great rates on home and auto insurance. Or find a local agent at msfbins.com. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team.
Filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Sports Talk Mississippi continues.
Welcome back, Sports Talk Mississippi. So, we've talked a little bit about the jersey patches getting added in college sports. There's been rumor that Ole Miss has got one or is working on one. State, I don't believe, is going to have one for this year. But there's been a lot of conversation. We'll hopefully visit with Zach Selman and Keith Carter as part of our Not Fall Camp tour. And we'll ask both of them about that. Luckily, fans of either team, you're not going to do what a Peruvian soccer club has chosen to do with their jerseys. Deportivo Municipal. Deportivo Municipal, I believe. It's what the team is. Anyway, they got relegated. So you guys may not know what relegation is. In soccer, they have, well, we'll just call them divisions. And the bottom, depending on what league, 2 or 3 teams that finish last get sent down a division, and the top 2 or 3 from the next division get sent up. It's called promotion and relegation.
It'd be awesome in baseball.
It'd be awesome. I mean, frankly, this will never, ever in a million years happen. But picture a scenario where the last place team in the SEC gets relegated and the first place team in the Sun Belt gets promoted. I think that would be sweet, but that'll never happen. But this Peruvian soccer team got relegated. And as you guys can probably imagine, when you get relegated, your fans are mad. And they are, I mean, there's less money because your games are less valuable, fans don't go as much, and on and on. So this soccer team decided to sell the jersey. But not in the way we're talking about, with a patch on the other side of your logo or something like that. No, they sold the entire jersey to 1,000 sponsors. I'm not kidding. The entire jersey. So it has a red stripe from shoulder across to waist.
A sash.
A sash. It's a solid red sash, and they've got their logo on the left chest. The rest of the jersey is 1,000 different sponsors, and it's a black and white checkerboard pattern. And you could zoom in and see them. They are all unique sponsors. There is literally 1,000 of them. $60 each is what they sold these sponsor patches for. And that's how they're making up the lost revenue from relegation. So $60 times 1,000 is, they made $60,000. It's a lesser club on selling the jersey. I don't think Ole Miss and State should do this, but honestly, they don't look like terrible.
Be great for a one-off, like a bowl game.
That really would. Just go full-on NASCAR?
Oh, yeah.
You should have the practice jerseys. Just go full NASCAR. Slap it. Who cares? You're practicing. That's what the NFL does. The NFL, you're not allowed to sell your jersey, but your practice jerseys, they'll have a big old Gillette, just blue square. That's the only thing you see on those things. But you guys, if you're curious, you should Google this. It's really funny. Quite literally, the jersey, the entire thing is sold. More so than any NASCAR you've ever seen.
Would you call that checkerboard or more of a herringbone pattern?
I have no idea what herringbone is, so I'll take your word for that. I don't have a clue what that is.
Herringbone's when you got kind of the angle, but they're still kind of stacked.
That's what that is. Yeah, it's not true checkerboard.
It's black and white like a checkerboard.
I kind of like it. I mean, I would wear one.
Oh, yeah.
Find it on DHgate or something like that. Some of the best jerseys I've ever purchased were on AliExpress, but may it rest in peace. And I haven't done DHgate yet, but if you're like me and you want to protest the high prices of like your favorite NFL jersey, you got to wait like 8 weeks for it to come in because it gets shipped in from China or Taiwan or something like that. But
probably coming from the same factory.
And that's the amazing part too. So I have 2 Pelicans jerseys that came from AliExpress, and they were like $17, and everything was the same. It was the official NBA store, stitched on, like true stitched on lettering, and it's like the $300 tier of jerseys that I got for $17. And I mean, the first one got shut down. This one will get shut down eventually too, but it just goes to show you how, for lack of a better phrase, how you, the fan, are getting screwed when you go to try to buy a jersey. I mean, they used to be $100 for the really good stitching one. Now the crap you're buying for $100 is screen printed, and after 2 washes, the letters are falling off. So, just a friend sent you there. How about that? Sports Talk Mississippi. Herringbone is the correct term for that jersey. But 1,000 sponsors. I don't think that's coming here anytime soon. But funny nonetheless. All right, we've got some stuff to talk about in the next segment. We got a team to get to in the countdown of 100 teams in 100 days. But the biggest villains in college football were ranked by ESPN, at least the top 10 biggest villains in college football history. I don't like the list. So we'll talk about that for the College Football Fix when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
From the flatlands of Mississippi.
Sports Talk Mississippi.
Every minute worth waiting for.
Super Talk Mississippi.
Hour number 3, Sports Talk Mississippi. Michael Borky and Rhino with you. Hey, Dad will be back on Monday. We are very glad that you are with us wherever you are in the great state of Mississippi. Who are the people in college football that you would consider the greatest villains of all time? So for the College Football Fix, that's what we're going to do. The great ESPN made a ranking. I don't like it, but I want you guys to weigh in right now for the College Football Fix. Oh, no. We have a corrupted file, just like we're talking about corrupted people for the College Football Fix, driven by Ford and your local Mississippi Ford dealer. There it is. Test drive 1 today. You will be glad that you did. The F-150 has been the best-selling truck in America for almost 5 decades. You don't have too long before football season begins. You got to get your honey-do lists done. There's no better vehicle in the world to do one with than the F-150. Test drive 1 today and tell them that it was us that sent you to your local Mississippi Ford dealer. Villains, hated figures in college football. ESPN made a list of the top 10, what they described as supervillains in our favorite sport. And here is part of their rationale. Who among these devilish dudes ranks among the most abhorred heels in college football history? For those answers, warm up your boo voice, stretch that middle finger, find some spare golf balls to fling from the student section, and read ahead as we present our list of college football's all-time villains. It's a great premise, great off-season content. The problem is, I don't understand it. They're number 1. Steve Spurrier. They're number 1. Now, I may misremember Steve Spurrier because his time at Florida was a little bit before my time. But yeah, he was arrogant. Yeah, he kind of talked a lot and he was mouthy. But tell me, guys, if I'm crazy for thinking that if you weren't playing against Steve Spurrier, you liked him. I thought he was pretty well liked. When he was the coach at South Carolina, that's when I got to really know him. Far be it for me to be a South Carolina fan. I'm not. But I loved the head ball coach. I thought he was almost universally respected figure for being kind of edgy, great offenses. He would talk a little bit, loved a good Coors Banquet beer. I mean, the number one villain in college football history, Steve Spurrier? I don't agree with that. Number 2, they have Lane Kiffin. That's pretty self-explanatory. I think he should be number 1. Because he's done it at multiple places. He's also very good. In order to be a good villain, you got to be good, right? You don't want to go see, the new Avengers movie and Thanos die in the first 10 minutes. Like, they need to be good at what they do. Lane Kiffin's good at what he does, and he's also every bit a villain in every way imaginable. He should be number 1, or at least ahead of Steve Spurrier. People like Steve Spurrier. Who likes Lane Kiffin right now besides LSU fans? Even State fans don't like the guy. Like, our text line was filled with State fans during all that. Like, this guy sucks. Like, I'm happy Ole Miss is dealing with a bunch of crap, but this guy sucks. I didn't see that with Spurrier. Number 3, Johnny Manziel. An absolute joy to watch. You hated playing against him, especially his post-college career. I get that selection, but he was a joy to watch play football. Number 4, Brian Bosworth. Now, that's a little bit before my time. He was in the 80s, but I know who he is, who the Boz is, because he is the stuff of legend. He was a hated guy. He was a nasty football player that also had the arrogance to come with it. So him being on the list is fine. The 1990 Miami Hurricanes altogether, just the entire team, is number 5. Number 6, Notre Dame. Just Notre Dame. I don't hate that. A lot of people love to root against Notre Dame. Number 7, ESPN. So ESPN included themselves on this list. I appreciate thinking you're the main character in this story, but you're not a top 10 villain in the history of college football. I'm sorry to tell you, ESPN. Number 8, Tim Tebow. I understand why, and they give a rationale. I understand why he's on the list, because he did come with a lot of hate, but he himself was spectacular and is spectacular. At no point was Tim Tebow anything other than quality, respectful, classy, and a really good player on the field. He's one of the types that, people only hated him because he was all of those things. A villain's got to be intentionally, welcoming in the negativity. You got to act like a bad guy if you're going to be known as the bad guy.
Or just be Tom Brady.
But Brady has a couple cheating scandals and things like that,
But he was hated long before that, just for being good.
Yeah, I don't get Tebow. I know somebody that dated a girl that dated Tim Tebow. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to get some juicy details. Like, he's going to be a bad guy. Like, tell me everything. And she was like, no, he was wonderful. He was the best guy. She said that dating him, though, was like you got lunch once a week because he was so busy and he had his, he was getting pulled in all kinds of different directions. But an ex-girlfriend had nothing but amazing things to say about the guy. So that tells you all you need to know. Number 9, Deion Sanders, known as Coach Prime now, but that's a villain. Guy that, brought it on himself and knew exactly what he was doing. And he was arrogant and he was cocky and he just ran his mouth, and then he shut you down for 4 quarters. And then number 10, they have Caleb Williams, which that's another one that doesn't make any sense to me at all. Definition of villains are different, I guess, in the ESPN world than mine, because Caleb Williams, he got a lot of hate himself, the fingernail stuff, and people made fun of him for crying after a game in his mom's arms. But he didn't invite hate. He was a good player. He transferred. Maybe that's it. But I mean, no Woody Hayes. You probably, in a list like this, it's fun off-season content, but no Joe Paterno. He didn't end up on. You don't. And again, that's probably they wanted to keep this light and fun as opposed to dark, so maybe you avoid that. But I mean
you do that by putting Paterno and not Sandusky.
Yeah. But Woody Hayes doesn't make this list. He punched a player in the throat on the
Who
field.
Was Art Briles? It was over Baylor when they had all that sexual misconduct.
It was Art Briles.
Nothing from that on the list.
But LeGarrette Blount punched a guy after a game.
If you're going back to the 80s for the Boz, why aren't you using SMU?
I mean, seriously, the
you got
Pony
Notre
Express
Dame on there as a team. You got the Hurricanes on there as a team.
Yeah. And again, you go back eras, then why are they not on there? But you're gonna give me Tebow? Somebody says Saban's Alabama. I don't hate that one because as good as they were, everybody hated them.
Chad Van Cleve on the C-Spire text line. I don't think he was saying Ndamukong Suh belongs on the list, but maybe Ndamukong Suh's girlfriend? Or Manti Te'o's girlfriend. That's an even better one.
Manti Te'o's girlfriend. I don't understand it. Yeah, Tebow's tight end should be on the list, not him. Baker Mayfield's a really good one. See, Baker Mayfield was a textbook villain in college. He was arrogant and cocky and ran his mouth and got arrested and did all that stuff, and then he was awesome on the field. That, to me, is a villain. The guy that brings it upon himself to be hated by others. Baker Mayfield's a great selection. I can't believe that I didn't think about him sooner. Chad Kelly would have been a good one. The problem with Chad Kelly is he wasn't relevant long enough. He had one really good season and then got injured halfway through the next one. And so he wasn't present long enough. And the stuff he didn't happen at Ole Miss either. It happened at Clemson, and there was a school in between Clemson and then... But that's more along the lines of what we're talking about. If we were talking about basketball, Marshall Henderson would have been a perfect villain because he was all of the things and then also good on the court. Urban Meyer's a good one. I just don't understand Caleb Williams and Tim Tebow on a list of the biggest villains in the history of college football. Good offseason content, ESPN, but let's get with it here. The countdown of 100 teams in 100 days will continue when we come back.
All day and all night. Oh, come
on! In the Venable Glass traffic.
Check this out. Sports Talk Mississippi. Super Talk Mississippi.
1, 2.
Six 601-879-4395. The C-Spire text line. You want to be a part of the show? That is how you do it. I'm Michael Borky. He's Rhino. We are very, very glad that you guys are with us. And this is a fascinating one today on the countdown of 100 teams in 100 days.
This day is bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S. This day is bananas.
100 teams in 100 days.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go! It's the final countdown.
Team number 23 on the countdown of 100 teams in 100 days is one that is sadly, unfortunately, all too familiar to me. They play Tiger Rag a little bit faster than they do in Baton Rouge. The Clemson Tigers of the ACC. Oh, I've heard this too many times in my life. It's a good fight song, though. Especially when they get to the spelling part. Takes a little while, but we won't wait that long. Frank Howard Field at Memorial Stadium is what the stadium is technically called there at Clemson, but it's known as Death Valley. And you might be thinking, wait a minute, isn't that what LSU calls their stadium? Yes. And you might be thinking, wait a minute, LSU's the Tigers, right? And you would be right. And also they share a color purple. They share a fight song, a stadium name, a color, and everything. People back east think that they were the ones that started all that. And people to the south, slightly west of us, think that it was them. Either way, it is, I will give them credit, a pretty awesome place to go watch a football game. I mean, you've got the whole deal with Howard's Rock, which is really cool. Now, Dabo, more on him in a second, has kind of taken that over where he sprints far ahead of his team down the hill all by himself and makes it about him, which is a little weird, but the stadium entrance is awesome. The town is nice, and the tailgating scene is cool, and all of the chants and traditions they have are great. That is a very, very cool place to go watch a college football game. They have a great environment, and they've had a lot of really good teams over the years at Clemson. Dabo Swinney took over as interim all the way back in 2008. And if you remember, ESPN gave Clemson an F grade for promoting Dabo Swinney to head coach in that hiring cycle. And for a little while, they were correct. Dabo Swinney entered the 2011 season firmly on the hot seat. In his first 2 years as full-time head coach at Clemson, he went 9-5 and 6-7, and that 6-7 included a loss in the Meineke Car Care Bowl. And I remember vividly, people at the time were thinking, we got to get out of this. It was an interim. We liked him, but it's not working. And if it doesn't work this year, he's gone. Well, he wins 10 games in 2011. They go to the Orange Bowl. They did lose, but they finished first in their division. They went to the Orange Bowl. And then he started winning. They went 11-2, 11-2, 10-3. Then they won the national champion, or they lost in the national championship game. Went to the national championship, won 14-1. A year later, they won the national championship. A year later, they go 12-2. A year later, 15-0, and they win the national championship. A year later, they go 14-1 with a loss in the national championship. So of five consecutive years, 4 of them, they went to the national championship game, and the down year, right in the middle, they went 12-2. There was talk from me, hand up, that Dabo Swinney was close to overtaking Nick Saban as the best coach in college football. And it was a justified conversation. And then they go 10-2, 10-3, 11-3, so they're still moving along, but did not make the playoff, didn't make the national championship. And then in 2023, they go 9-4. In 2024, they win 10 games, they make the playoff, but lose in the first round. And then last year, they go 7-6, and Dabo over this time had been criticized, and I think rightfully so, for not adapting in this era. Clemson has been relatively adverse to paying players the same way that other programs do. Now, Clemson never engaged in that in the past. Always cracks me up when you get the number of 5 stars that they got. Those guys, even in the pre-portal era, they never went to school for free. Never. And I mean never went to school for free. So that was always kind of a thin veil that not enough people saw through. But anyway, they were winning, and then they stopped winning, and he didn't use the portal, and he didn't adapt, and it feels like they are falling off. And last season was a really good example of that. He returns his quarterback in Cade Klubnik. They said they had a roster good enough, and it wasn't good enough. They lost to LSU at home. They did beat Troy, but remember, they struggled to beat Troy. They were down early in that game as well. It was an ugly, ugly game, and they barely survived that one. Then they go to Georgia Tech and lose. Then Syracuse comes to their place and dominates them, and they lose to Syracuse, so they start 1-3. But they went to North Carolina and won, and they went to Boston College and won. But they lost to SMU and Duke before closing the season pretty darn strong. They beat Florida State. They beat Louisville by 1. They beat Furman, go Paladins. Then they won their rivalry game at South Carolina to close the season. But then they played a depleted Penn State team in the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl to finish the season 7-6. Cade Klubnik is gone. Going into last season, a lot of people thought that he was going to be, a first-round pick caliber quarterback, and he was talented enough to be that guy. It just didn't work out. This year, they have, I guess it's a two-way competition at quarterback, but it appears that all signs are pointing to Christopher Vezina, I believe is how you say his last name. He's been in the program for a while. He is a fourth-year junior, and he has been a Clemson guy. He's not a transfer. Dabo did not enter the transfer portal. He didn't try to go get a quarterback, at least not publicly, because he felt like he had his guy in-house the whole time. Vezina has started one game in his 4 years at Clemson. It was against SMU, and he played well. He threw for 317 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he has one start in his career, and he will be playing quarterback for Clemson as they open the season in the other Death Valley in Baton Rouge on Saturday night, September 5th. And I really, truly do believe that if/when Clemson loses that game, that will be the day that we knew that Dabo Swinney was. They won't announce it publicly, but if they go to Baton Rouge and get beat badly, like they probably should, that's the day that Dabo Swinney got fired at Clemson. Because, look at the juxtaposition between those two programs. One does and will continue to use the portal heavily. One is getting private equity involved, including the governor is now going to sit on the board of this private equity thing just so they can get more money to go pay players. It's corrupt and all that, but that's what LSU's doing to go win. Clemson's been pushing back against everything that is required to go win. If they go to LSU and lose, their people will have had enough of the good guy stuff because they will just want to go win. They host Georgia Southern and North Carolina before going to Cal in a conference game. That game will be played because the ACC is stupid for welcoming Stanford and Cal into their conference. That game will kick off at 10:30 Clemson time. 10:30 at night Clemson time. Conference game. It's absurd. They host Miami before an off week. Then they host Charleston Southern. The Buccaneers, my favorite fact about Charleston Southern is that it's in North Charleston. Charleston Southern is in North Charleston. They host Virginia Tech. They go to Florida State and Syracuse before hosting Georgia Tech. They go to Duke, and they end the season at home against South Carolina. A legacy is on the line this season for Dabo Swinney, and I'll be honest, I cannot believe that they, as a program, have found themselves in this position because, again, I thought that they were on top of the college football world not too terribly long ago. I thought they had made an ascent as a program, and all of the bones and the infrastructure is still there. But if they do have to move on from Dabo, the new guy is taking over a place that is very behind the times culturally, and it's not the job that it once was, and I'm surprised to be able to say that. So that's Clemson, team number 23 on the countdown of 100 teams in 100 days. Everybody says go to SO Club. I would tell you to go to Greenville and just to don't go to Clemson at all. I'm partially kidding, but I'm glad that you guys are with me. Team number 23. We are inching closer and closer to the start of college football season. This is Sports Talk Mississippi. There's something to keep an eye on when it comes to a season opener with one of the teams in the state of Mississippi. I will tell you about that when we come back. Sports Talk Mississippi. Don't go anywhere.
From the Seabrook. You're hearing Sports Talk Mississippi. What? This is so awesome on Super Talk Mississippi.
601-879-4395, the C Spire text line. Somebody says, I believe it would benefit both Dabo and Clemson to part ways peacefully. Dabo took a couple years off and go do it again somewhere else. He's got to adapt first. He's got to adapt first. There's no other option there. Who would be Dabo's potential replacement? Probably something small time. I don't think Clemson in this space operates in a way that tells you they're ready to compete the way that you have to win in this day and age. And they need like a total, more like just a complete factory reset. I know media is not the best indicator, but I think it's a good show of what the mindset of the people around are. And Clemson media in particular just really buy into the righteousness, the good guy, do it the right way, I'd rather lose this way than win their way type stuff. And that does not work at the highest level of college football in this era. Because in this era, it's got to be all about get money, get transfers, win games. That's what it has to be. And if you're not that way, then you're going to lose. And if you don't like that it's that way, I understand. In fact, I agree with you. I wish we were in the back in the good old days where people just did it for the love of the game and nothing else. But that's not the era in which we operate. So do you want to win or do you want to lose? And if you're comfortable losing, doing it the Clemson way, so be it. We've had this conversation in this state. I firmly believe that if not for the NCAA investigation into Ole Miss during the Hugh Freeze era and the exposure of Hugh Freeze, which, I mean, just was a game changer for Ole Miss in hindsight. I mean, that was the best thing that has ever happened to Ole Miss was the NCAA investigating them and Hugh Freeze getting exposed and fired and moved on. That was, well, he resigned, forgive me. But that was the best thing to ever happen to Ole Miss sports because they would not have been as willing and motivated to go win in this era when they sat back and they watched themselves get investigated like that when they didn't get every player they went after. Ole Miss was dishing out all this money, but a bunch of players went to Alabama, Auburn, all over the country that they were after. That changed the way the fan base and everything thought when this era came. That was a big help. Changed Ole Miss football forever. That's why they were able to win in this era, because of the exposure of Hugh Freeze. Clemson needs something like that to happen to them. If you're adverse to this, you're behind. And they're adverse to it, so they're going to be behind. And until that changes, they're going to be stuck. We saw it with the stuff with Pete Golding. Man, their media was so proud of Dabo for going after Pete Golding. Until they go 6-6 again, and they're going to wonder what happened. Well, I'll tell you what happened. Because he's not willing to go do what it takes to win anymore. We'll see. It's unfortunate, but that's reality. If you want people to dance around it, and that's fine. If you want your media to talk about how you do things the right way and you're righteous, and that's fine. You're going to lose. You're going to lose. Yeah. You think that LSU's doing it the wrong way right now? Private equity's the wrong way. But they're all in. Texas A&M's all in. Georgia's all in. Ohio State's all in. Ole Miss is all in. Because they want to win. Somebody says Dabo isn't over Kim Dietschy. That's why he's so salty about the Ferrelli deal. I think, maybe there's something to that, but in part it's self-preservation. Because if they go lose to LSU, they just, we do it the right way here. It's almost like a scapegoat. It's self-preservation. It's a scapegoat. I'm not playing that dirty game. But that only goes so far. So I mentioned there was some training camp news that impacts the season opener. There is plenty of time for this to change, but it is something to keep an eye on when it comes to Ole Miss's Week 1 opponent in Louisville. Obviously, that game happening in Nashville. But Louisville's best player, their star running back, Isaac Brown, he's an All-American caliber player. He's got unbelievable numbers. He's just a really good football player. And he is a big part, or will be a big part, of Louisville's success this year. Did not participate fully, anyway, in practice today. He was working with trainers on the sideline, not in a helmet. Did have shoulder pads on, but he did not participate in practice. There was no firm update, anyway, of exactly why and how long that will be. But Jeff Brom's quote was, "Apparently we have to get him healthier. That's about all I have on that one." If this was game week, it would be a little bit more noteworthy. He's got, 30 days. He's got 30 days to get healthy by then. But that's something to keep an eye on. The star running back of your week one opponent not physically being ready when camp begins. Just kind of underline that and make note of it. Not ideal, but a long way to go. That's the hardest part about training camp, is after every practice, you just hope the practice report doesn't include this player limped off the field with whatever injury. It's a big game. 601-879-4395. Somebody says, be careful when you eat crow about Dabo. I still would rather have my son play for him than Lane. I understand that. And I agree. Two things can be true at once. I think that class and integrity and morals are important. They should be the most important thing. Sadly, they're not anymore.
And if the point is to win the game and you are not keeping up with the latest iterations of the game, then you're doing yourself a disservice, because this would be the equivalent of, well, the forward pass is legal, we're still running the option.
It's like in basketball, shooting 75% mid-ranges. It's like, it's how the game was meant to be played back in the day, but it's the least efficient shot in the game. If you're not shooting, a bunch of threes with good three-point shooters, you're getting left behind. I don't like that it's this way, but it is this way. Somebody says, is he really injured, or is it a monetary holdout? I don't know that answer. I mean, he was at practice. You will see some of that, though. And some of you guys aren't going to like this. I don't blame them. You're going to have players this year that have contracts that they signed, and as we've learned with the Prince Will and Devin Harper situation, these contracts also, bind players as well. If you guys were going to work and it was payday and your company never paid you, would you just keep going to work for the next couple of weeks without getting a paycheck? If you had an agreement with somebody, if you did work for them, if you're a roofer or a landscaper or whatever, and you send them an affidavit and they just, I'm not going to pay you this week, sorry. Thanks for doing my yard, though, but I'm not going to pay you for doing it. Would you? Of course not. You're going to get player holdouts until they get paid. Now, if it's the middle of the season and they're holding out for more, that's wrong. That's, I think, where the line gets crossed. That has happened here in the state of Mississippi. People didn't know it at the time, but a player was holding out for more money during the season. That's ridiculous. If we find out about that, we will call it out publicly, because you have a contract to play this season. Those are the terms you agreed to. If you're holding out for more during the season, you're a loser. But there will be players, there will be schools that will struggle to make payroll. And when they do, I don't blame a player for sitting out. I really don't. Because it was payday for us recently. If my money never came and I asked what happened and they didn't immediately have an answer and get out the checkbook and write me a check, I would not work until that day came. Now, that would never happen here. I've worked here for 12 years and everything has been perfectly on time every time. But that day's coming. That day is coming. 601-879-4395, the C Spire text line. Boy, Bama couldn't defend Vanderbilt's option. Vanderbilt, by the way, dropped new uniforms today. They look great. All gold. A new Nike, what do they call them? What do they call them, Rhino? The jersey, not platforms, where all the jerseys look the same in terms of like the material and all that. Nike has a new one this year.
Template,
I think that's it. So, yeah, your favorite team's jerseys might just ever slow slightly because of material changes, might look just a little bit different. I noticed that in Vanderbilt's. We'll read a few of your messages, and we will send you on your way when we come back. Sports Talk Mississippi. Don't go anywhere.
Come on. Are we going to do this? Back to Sports Talk Mississippi.
Keep rolling. 3, 2, 1.
Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Michael Borky and Rhino with you on this Thursday. The Hall of Fame game tonight. We'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow. Probably not much because, honestly. Honestly. It's football. It'll be on your TV. But other than that, that is all. That's all that it'll be. I keep getting. I got 2 during the break just now. I still have a South Carolina area code phone number. I haven't switched to Mississippi only because there are just so many people over the years that have my phone number. If like an old high school buddy wants to reach out or something, I want him to be able to do that. So I haven't changed my number. I get all kinds of, it's almost election season, here, text messages. And I kind of send them, things in return. My question, do you think that actually works on people, though?
Not really. There are statistics that show that the mailers and the messages and stuff like that do reach a certain percentage of the population, but it's not a large enough percentage that I would consider using it if I were a politician.
I get, if you send a mass text and get a 5% return, that's 5% of people that wouldn't engage with you otherwise, but... And then they call me by my first name as well. And so not only are you using my phone number and trying to engage with me politically, which I did not ask for, I do not want, you're pretending to know, you're bothering me, you're pretending to know who I am, you're sending me all these talking points and AI-generated graphics. I want nothing to do. Do not text me. That should be, I swear that should be against the law. You cannot use... or you should not be able to solicit me via my personal phone for your political ads unless I opt in to whatever campaign to receive updates. That seems like a simple law. Maybe there is one and they just violate it.
At least you don't get texts offering you, well, this is the one I got today. Dr. Wallace, a urology contract role in West Plains, Missouri, offers 7 to 10 days per month with housing and malpractice provided. Is that schedule something you'd be open to?
You said yes, right? Obviously.
If they want to pay me to be a doctor for a day, well, they figure out I'm not.
Probably great pay.
Oh, yeah, at least for a day.
Man, there are some doctors out there that make in a day what we make in a month, You could have been a doctor. I could not have. There's no way.
I couldn't have done the schooling. I was not responsible enough at the time.
Was it like 12 years of school and then grunt work and all that for however long, and then you turn 38 and you finally can become a doctor, and then, hey, here's $1 million in student loans that you owe back. Pay those off by the time you're ready to retire. It's tough.
Fun.
So he says, I want a breakdown of all 4 quarters tomorrow. You know what? I've got the podcast to do, so I'll watch a little bit of it, do the podcast. And then if the game's still on, I will watch it till the end, though, and I will tell you what happened late in the game. I will. Not a single player on the field at that point will be on either one of these rosters, but I will I will put it back on and I will watch it. Especially, the Panthers being an NFC South team. I can't believe that the Saints are not in this, though, considering the crown jewel of this Hall of Fame class is a Saint. You would figure that the NFL would have done that, but oh well. They got the Panthers and the Cardinals instead. Sid says you should have your own show. We talked about this the other day. The Rhino Show. Now, what would you call it? The Rhino Show's too easy.
It'd either be Rhino Rants or something like that.
Hayden and I keep tossing around an idea of we obviously can't do it on the stations, but like an After Dark where we bring in a cooler and just kind of talk with people that work here and just kick back for an hour and just kind of Joe Rogan style, but not politically charged at all. But, they're sitting there, what do they call it, Protect Our Parks, where they have Mark Norman and Shane Gillis and R.E. Shafir.
Yeah.
And they just sit there and they have beers and just talk about, Lord knows what the entire time. Something like that here I think would do well. Or we would all get fired after the first episode. Which that is more likely. Tomorrow, you'll hear from both head coaches. We will talk training camp. We'll talk Hall of Fame game and more. Can't wait to see you guys right back here in this very spot starting at 3 o'clock. For Will, who was in the studio for the first half of the show, and Rhino, I'm Michael Borky. Thank you for making our show a part of your day. I'll see you tomorrow at 3. Good night.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.